This is Val Schober with Module 8, Internal and External Publics. Applying concepts of internal and external public and the communication used within Hutchinson Public School District. Internal includes superintendent, school board, administration, school staff, and students. External includes parents, school support groups, community, city officials, and media. I used the Lucid chart diagrams primarily due to the fact that I'm more familiar with Google Apps and I did like the design format. How I analyzed the two publics. I looked at internal as within the school system and external as outside of the school system. So looking at each group and how they communicate. The superintendent communicates orally, written, and digitally regularly. He communicates orally more with administration, school board members, and staff at the administration building. He does do some written communication, but less frequently as school letters go out to families less and less each year. He communicates digitally, such as emailing, as a main form of communication. Orally, written, and digitally means create two-way communication. He also posts on the school website any updates within the school district. He participates in ongoing communication training. He does weekly email to staff on Monday morning. He composes a yearly school newsletter that goes out every July, and he is regularly visible in the community. The school board members communicate orally and digitally. Orally at school board meetings, and school board members are most likely community members, so they're communicating within the community. They also do a lot of digitally and email communication. Any written information from the school board is prepared and distributed by the board clerk. That person also does the minutes and puts them on the school website. Administration, this includes principals, vice principals, athletic director, and the human resources director. They communicate orally, written, and digitally regularly with school staff and external public. Orally, they communicate with staff during team meetings. They have open communication through IEP meetings with staff and parents. Written, again, not as much, but they do send out parent letters occasionally. Digitally, they send out emails to staff weekly, they send letters to parents by email, and they have a text system used to communicate school-wide announcements. Administration also puts information out on Facebook and Twitter. They participate in ongoing communication training as well. The Director of Human Resources primarily communicates with the community and the community partners. He puts out a district-wide announcement for parents and community through an automated phone message, through emails and texts, and administration is regularly visible in the community. All school staff includes teachers, paras, and all support staff. They orally talk to each other through team meetings, they have classroom meetings, they have grade level meetings. They also have written communication, but again, this also is done less, but they will send out information to parents. The teachers do a lot of digital communication through email, staff to staff and support staff. They send an email to parents. The school district has Skyward, another form to use to communicate with parents and parents to communicate with teachers and support staff. A lot of teachers use Google Classroom with their students. They email students primarily in the 7th through 12th grades. All students 7 through 12 have Chromebooks, so it makes them easier to communicate through email, Skyward, and Google Classroom. Some teachers have a classroom Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter page to communicate with parents. So school staff use a variety of communication methods to communicate regularly with parents. And like I said, they create social media pages for parents. I do believe teachers work hard to establish two-way communication with staff and parents. With students, they communicate with teachers orally and digitally. They communicate with family members and parents information that is given to them. Of course, some students are better with that than others. And they have Google Classroom's used to communicate with teachers. Looking at external, the first is parents. They communicate with administration and school staff orally and digitally as needed. Orally can include phone calls, face-to-face meetings, parent-teacher conferences, open house at the beginning of the school year, emailing teachers as questions arise. They have opportunities to communicate at school board meetings. So they can attend school board meetings, and there is a time during the school board meeting where parents, community, city officials, whoever would like to voice some information. School support groups. This includes like PTO, Booster Club, FFA, any athletic groups, just for some examples. They usually have one school representative at each group and communicate with administration monthly by email and verbally when needed, and updates are posted on social media. Most groups have their own social media account that they use to communicate with others. Community, they receive school emails and newsletters. They can attend school board meetings and school functions. They communicate with school personnel as needed orally and by email. City officials communicate with superintendent, school board members, and administration orally and email. There is open lines of communication when needed for more frequent communication. The city office is given written materials to hand out to people as needed, such as brochures on the school district for new families that come into town. Media, the school reports and updates obtained by superintendent, administration, and school board weekly, the media receives. They receive most of the communication from the human resources director to make sure that the information given to the media is accurate and correct. Evaluating the forms of communication and two-way communication, I do believe, is encouraged with all the public entities. Two-way communication is done in a variety of forms, as I've talked about within this presentation. And evaluating, although I do believe USD 308 does a good job of creating open lines of two-way communication in a variety of forms, I do believe that there's always room for improvement. So looking at strength of communication and evaluating each group, I believe that the group that excels at communication, communicating with others, would be the staff and administration. The staff connects more with parents, school support groups, community, and with each other. I think the staff does a great job for the most part with communicating with others. Administration does also do well at composing accurate communication appropriately and effectively to parents and community. They communicate more with staff sometimes on a need-to-know basis. So sometimes I think that there is a little bit of breakdown in communication between administration and staff, but I think that is also getting better. Some weakness areas of concern is, I think, internal communications with city officials could be better. I don't know that there is a lot of communication between any of the internal communication public or internal public with the city officials. I think that is one area of need. I think they could create better relationships and two-way communication lines with each other. I do believe that they have started some different things. I'm not sure what specific. I'm kind of making that a little bit better. The superintendent, this is his first year at in Hutchinson as a superintendent, and Hutchinson is a pretty large school district, and he is coming from a small school district. So I do believe communication will improve as he gets experience with the town and the community, and getting to know people. So I think that in communication will get better. Critiquing my internal and external communication and looking at my chart, I do believe that with all the examples and all the open two-way communication that there is within all of the publics, I do believe this creates support for student learning and success. I think Hutchinson Public School District does do a great job of communication to create student learning and success. I do believe that is apparent with the multiple means of communication between the internal and external public, and especially the open two-way lines of communication. Critiquing my chart, I could have used more pictures to represent the various publics, but I didn't know if that would make the chart too busy, and being creative is not a huge strength for me, so that is just one area that I struggle with adding pictures because sometimes it gets too busy. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.